After months of customer complaints and financial difficulties, it looks like the Fanatec saga may be coming to a conclusion. One of the biggest PC hardware makers, Corsair, has put in an offer to buy the company and potentially save it from bankruptcy. We are going to be discussing whether this new partnership will go through and what it means for one of sim racing's biggest brands, along with all the other latest news in the world of sim racing on this week's The Late Apex. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick. I have a different guest alongside me tonight, Jamie Fluke, who of course drives in the ESLR1 Championship, along with former PECC driver, former iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series driver as well.
You were about to say champion there, and I was like,
Not
well,
quite.
not quite. I didn't even win a racing series. Absolute loser.
But a man with a lot of credentials. Jamie, it's very happy to have your perspective on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, happy to fill in for the usual incumbent, David Sampson, who isn't here this week. So you've got to make do with me, sadly. But yeah, I've got a bit of knowledge when it comes to the world of sim racing. I've been around
downplaying it.
I've been around for a little bit. I've got a reasonable idea of what's going on about some things, not everything on the list of topics that we have to go through. So I'm going to have you sort of hold my hand through a couple of bits and pieces here. But there's plenty to talk about, and yeah, we'll get stuck in.
Exactly. There's a lot to talk about. It's been a very busy week, so let's get into it. Fanatec. Obviously, lots of controversy over the last few months. It really all started with Black Friday last year, when they sold way too much stuff. According to their former CEO, Thomas Giacomo, they, of course, had their numbers on their website didn't correspond to the numbers that they had in their warehouse. And so the numbers on the website just kept on trickling down, and it was fine, but they didn't actually have the products that they were saying that they were going to sell to people. That's caused huge delays, along with a lot of arguably financial mismanagement, has meant that the company is on the brink of bankruptcy and pretty much is in bankruptcy. They've had to go down the route of basically going down bankruptcy laws in Germany to try to basically save the company from completely folding. And parts of that, of course, involved Thomas Giacomo being removed as CEO. That happened a few weeks ago. But they've also had a liquidity requirement on 25 million euros by October as well. So 25 million quid in debt, which they have to pay up by the end of the year. The latest news is that it looks like they're going to sell the company on the cheap. In order for it to completely be liquidated, they are going to sell the company on the cheap, which will pretty much dissolve the shares that existing shareholders have, and instead sell it to Corsair, who of course provide a lot of PC hardware, whether that be the stuff that goes in your PC, or whether it comes to peripherals as well, or own companies like Elgato as well. And it looks like this is going to go ahead, Jamie, and it would be quite a acquisition for Corsair, seemingly for an incredibly cheap price, because Fanatec have next to no other options, at least that they're willing to take.
Yes, it feels like the walls are closing in on Fanatec at this point, and this looks like the most logical way out. Fanatec being a publicly traded company, I took a look at the stock price from where it was 3 years ago to today, and it is 1/100th of the price that it was 3 years ago, with the the big COVID boom and how sim racing basically just had its big breakout moment off the back of what happened in the early part of 2020. It's quite the fall from grace, really, because we all sort of see and know Fanatec as this sort of very consistent, reliable sort of face and figure in sim racing hardware. They've been around a really long time, for quite some period of time. Like, they've been sort of seen as like the go-to standard for the majority of sim racing enthusiasts. And to see the company in this sort of shape is quite a shame. With Corsair coming in, obviously, Corsair, huge company, and as you alluded to earlier, with everything that they do in terms of PC hardware as a whole, they seem on the face of it to be the right kind of company to try and take on Fanatec. But it's not a done deal. It's not finished and wrapped up, and this is exactly how it's going to move forward. There's still room for things to change and evolve as we go on, and this is still a moving story.
Yeah, and the way that they've talked about it, really, and I've got a lot of this news from Overtake.gg, but I'd also say Kirith, who did the original interview with Thomas Jackemeyer a couple of weeks ago, has done a lot of very good videos on this topic. So if you want to, dive more into it, then I really recommend Kirith's most recent video on this. But it looks like this is very much the way that Fanatec at least want the this to go, because Thomas Jackemeyer, who owns half the shares in the company, he was willing to put 50 mil into the company, become the CEO again, and take it down a new route that he would control. And
that's a lot of V3 pedals, that has to be said.
Yeah, that's a lot. But the current shareholders, basically the people who replaced him, said no, they do not want that, and instead they are going down this bankruptcy route, which seems like it's annoyed a lot of shareholders, because obviously you said before that the shares have gone down by 99% over the last couple of years. By not being a public company and being bought by Corsair, people are going to lose their shares, and they're going to get pretty much nothing from them.
Correct.
And so a lot of people want Thomas Jackemeyer to be made the CEO again, in order to give them hope that their shares might increase value again, to keep it as a public company. But it doesn't seem like they want to do that. I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing or not. Maybe it's the safer option to sell it to Corsair. At least then the company will definitely be able to survive, rather than potentially racking up even more debt, and the situation just getting worse and worse until the company is even worth less and completely has to go out of business. So a lot of shareholders will be very frustrated, because they've lost potentially thousands of pounds from their investment back in lockdown, like you were saying before.
Yeah. It's a sad old tale. Bear in mind, neither of us have degrees in business or finance.
No.
So to say exactly what the best course of action here is definitely questionable on our end. However, it looks like Corsair are going to take things over and probably just absorb it into what they've got, and it's a private company, and that's how it's probably going to go. So for those who are shareholders in Fanatec, it's grim viewing, but the company will probably survive, find that this all goes through, and the direction of the company as a whole will probably change.
Yeah, like when it comes to, because obviously I think Jackamai's had a lot of sort of control over what they've done, and of course now this is going to be ruthless in terms of who in charge. This is no longer a bunch of sim racing enthusiasts making these products. This is a massive business who are just going to be looking at the bottom line, at the money, and so potentially making, and this is again an idea from Kirith, again watch his video on this stuff, but he was very much mentioning, I think this has been mentioned by a few others as well, maybe making more common denominator stuff, Logitech style products, Thrustmaster style products, maybe a cheaper price but less high end compared to some of the wheels that they're producing. They got the Aston Martin wheel, which I still don't think is actually available to buy, but the one with the dash, which doesn't move in the middle of the screen, stuff like that. Nah, let's get rid of that. We're not paying attention to that stuff. That's not going to sell a whole lot. Instead, let's focus on stuff that is more widely accessible for everyone. And so it might be sort of the death of what we know Fanatec as. At the same time, maybe it'll be positive. Obviously, it'll be a lot of investment, and they'll have the financial security to perhaps go after some more risk, perhaps. But yeah, it will be a massive change from what we've basically got used to Fanatec producing over the years.
Yeah, so Fanatec has been well known as probably the leader in the market in terms of the mid high end sim racing product in terms of both wheel and pedals, and then wheel rim as well on top of that. Shifters as well, like everything. It might change. Now that market has been diluted sort of in the last few years. It's a growing field in terms of sim racing hardware. We're seeing more and more names pop up. Like Fanatec example, for example, sort of springs to mind as a strong challenger to the Fanatec range. So whether, and this is all obviously still ifs and buts, but yeah, if a company like Corsair are going to take it over, what direction does Fanatec as a business go in? It does remain to be seen. I would like Fanatec to sort of continue to sit in the space that they're in rather than move down, I guess, towards like Logitech and Thrustmaster. A lot of their products, I think, sit in that range, which is really good for the enthusiast sim racer.
Yeah. It's sort of your first. I mean, it's a lot of people's first DD, right? Like
yeah,
that's
direct
sort
drive.
Of the market that they're.
Or your first proper like load cell brake.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or your load cell pedals. People will then, either sit on that and be really, really happy with it, or maybe look towards the higher end stuff like VRS or like SemiCube or so on and so forth. Like those of higher echelon SemiCube. VRS, SemiCube, Husenfeld, sort of like that's like your step above. In general, I'm sure there's others that spring to mind. Maybe Moza as well, kind of.
I was going to
lean into that as well.
Yeah.
So, Fanatec have sat quite nicely in that like bracket below, and then the bracket below that I think is like obviously your entry level stuff, which isn't great.
Yeah.
As someone who's kind of used a bit of everything over the last 10 years or so, like I started with Logitech stuff and I've worked my way up to like I've tried high-end motion sims, and I tried the base performance sim, which is worth like $750,000, something crazy like that. So I've tried all aspects of the spectrum here. Fanatec's typically been in that like really nice sweet spot where they get like pretty good market share, but also it's like affordable high-end quality stuff.
Exactly.
Has the quality always been high-end, and has their equipment always been reliable? Not so much, not always. To be fair, the stuff that I've owned in the past has held up quite well, but hopefully the company survives and does well, because we don't want to see sim racing companies fail and falter.
Absolutely not. It would leave a bit of a hole in the market, as you said earlier on. Of course, it's a crowded market now, but still, hopefully they are able to survive. Hopefully their products are of good quality and there's better financial decisions made by them in the coming years. Welcome to everyone in chat, by the way. Very kind of Alan Lee to say this show improved by 50% this week. Thank you, Alan.
I don't think it did.
I think it did. I mean, I don't know.
Are you going to say that to Dave's face?
Well, no, Dave's not. I don't know. Well, let's see if David's watching. If he punches me in the face next week, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, he
watched."
In.
I bet Alan's going to send the clip over now. He's going to like just clip what you've just said there.
Yeah, but I'll
just
just say it's like edited or AI or something like that. That'll be fine.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
You think you're going to get away with that?
David's a notoriously stupid person, so he'll fall for anything. So
he's really, really not. David's one of the smartest people I've ever met. Deary me. But welcome on in, everyone.
Yeah,
and,
welcome, including David if he's watching. Welcome. I'm missing you, man. Next thing, iRacing stuff.
Yes.
VCO IndyCar Challenge powered by Open Wheels. We have an Open Wheel World Championship thing, which isn't in a silly IR01 car. Here's the trailer for it. It's a decent trailer.
It is a decent trailer.
It's a bit frustrating that this isn't a proper iRacing one. Like, credit to VCO.
Yep.
They've done a lot of fantastic good for iRacing in particular, but also
for sim racing as a whole.
Generally.
Yeah.
And it's good that they've taken the mantle for this. They're up 7K of prize money, but and this got announced only just a few hours ago. I was sort of hoping for something a bit bigger, honestly. I know it's only 6 rounds, so it's a decent payout.
Yeah.
But it's just, back when you guys were slaving over like 10 grand prize pool for a 10-month series, and Gregor was winning it every year, and he was only getting 5 grand.
It was 25k prize pool, but 10k up top.
Oh, okay, fair
So
enough. Okay,
it's
so
a
it was a bit
bigger
more.
prize pool than what's offered
what
there.
this is. I just love a big open world challenge, but it just seems like IndyCar aren't willing to properly get behind it. They've got the money to do it. 7 grand is half a front wing, in IndyCar.
It is.
And so it's frustrating that whilst this is definitely good, I was hoping for a bit more, if I'm honest.
Yeah. That being said, like this has all pretty much come from VCO, and they don't shell out huge money. Which is fine. Like that's their prerogative. It would be nice if iRacing could like come together with IndyCar and actually put on a like proper massive championship, similar to what we had with like IMSA last year, which is coming back again this year, or working with BMW for the BMW Sim Cup, something of that kind of size and scale. But it's an IndyCar championship on iRacing, which 12 months ago we weren't even really like a possibility of that was completely out of the question. So it's something. It's a start. 6-round championship, 4 road courses and 2 ovals, which basically fits reasonably well with what IndyCar is in real life. Just play through again, or he's trying to find it.
We'll find it, people. Where is it? Come on, needs to enter. Sorry, I interrupted you, Jeremy.
The joys of live production. Eh?
It should be easy. It's just
it should. And then the internet's just let us down. We'll blame Elon Musk for this.
Okay, we'll watch the whole video.
We'll watch it again.
To watch the whole video. But yeah, 6 rounds. Yeah, like you said, 2 oval rounds. Questionable track choices. That's Long Beach, right? That's Sebring.
Yes.
I don't know. That's Long Beach. That's Sebring. That's Long Beach. But Long Beach and Sebring, neither of them are in the actual series.
Correct.
Despite the fact that they feature prominently in the trailers, which is a bit surprising.
There's the list of tracks there. So Indy Road, which it's a roval, so inherently I'm going to just despise it with every fibre of my being. I hate all rovals.
Yeah.
Passionately. I'm not passionate about many things, but my disdain.
This is why Jamie's on the show
rovals.
Today. I said that he could mention how he doesn't like rovals for 1 minute. And he was like, I'm on. Sign me up.
Yeah, well, I lasted more than 1 minute.
Well, what are we on now? Like 40 seconds that you've been talking about it? You got 20 more seconds. Anything more you want to say on
they're all overrated. Even the ones that you can't rate well, they're all overrated.
Well, I agree. Indy Road is woeful.
The exception,
the
exception is New Hampshire because it
fantastic.
It meanders out into the woods. Like you take the right out of the back straight and have some bank corners that aren't on an oval, and you net back in, and it's quite good fun. But yeah, that was the list of tracks there. I forgot my train of thought, but yeah, the 2 ovals are
Iowa and Auto Club.
Yeah,
so Auto Club's a legendary circuit for. I've done some racing on Auto Club. It's so wide. It's
very
flat, but it's wide. I did the 500 miles of Auto Club, organised by Arjuna Kankapatsi a few months ago, back when the IndyCar got re-added. A little bit too easy to go flat out compared to Indy, but like a really good racetrack in terms of like finding the clean air, lots of fuel saving, and yeah. So the oval rounds at least are well picked.
Yes, agreed. One thing though that would make Indy Road slightly better is driving the Indy car. It is a fantastic car on iRacing.
Such a good car, yeah.
Needs more love than what it has, and hopefully this sort of kickstarts a bit of a resurrection for the car on iRacing, because pound for pound, it's one of the best on the service. It was worked on extensively during COVID, because a lot of the IndyCar drivers jumped onto iRacing and they're able to offer their feedback and gave iRacing a strong telling off by my my best estimation. That's being diplomatic and polite about it, saying how much iRacing sort of needed to adjust and fix it. I last drove the car maybe a couple of years ago, and it is magnificent in every single way.
It's really great. I remember when we did we did some interviews with our December meetup back in 2022, and we asked drivers who or what car would you like to drive for the rest of your career if you could pick one. And I think the most picked one was the IndyCar. I think 3 or 4 people said it, which was more than any other car which was chosen. So like it is really liked amongst the pros. It's fantastic as it's actually it's not very easy to drive compared to like a GT3, but compared to a lot of the other powerful single seaters like the F1 cars, it's easy to drive in comparison to them. The traction is so comfortable to get down. So I really do recommend it. It is really fantastic. By the way, apologies if there are any audio issues. Hopefully it's not too bad. Glim BT asking, instead of BAM versus Bottle, which is a regular feature, Jamie, on this show, which we're not doing today.
We're not doing today because I've got something else that is in the BAM.
Yeah, exactly. Which is off stage.
It's off camera at the minute. It will probably make an appearance at some point.
Yeah, watch out for it. Instead of BAM versus Bottle, can we have who has the better ginger beard?
I mean, it's me, and it's not even a question.
In honesty, it's Jamie, isn't it? Like, I don't think I could ever hope to have as big a beard as Jamie. So,
this is trimmed down as well. Like, this isn't even in its final form.
Well, yeah. So that's not really a competition, Glenn. But Aaron Smith as well. Is everyone at Apex growing facial hair now? What's going on? We're all hipsters, I think.
Yeah.
Me and Jamie are proud hipsters.
Well,
we are, whenever someone asks, who are you? I always say, I'm sure you say this as well, Jamie. I say, I'm a hipster. Because I really take pride in that. So that's why we're growing all this facial hair.
Yeah, something like that.
And Dominic saying that the IndyCar series seems like a continuation of that IndyCar series Racesport ran calendar-wise too, and that's where the trailer footage is from. So thank you, Dominic, for clarifying that one.
Yes. So I mean, I can add a little bit of context as well. So VCO are fairly well tied and linked to Racesport, and obviously Arjuna Kankapati is one of the prominent guys at Racesport. So there's a tie in there. He's obviously a huge IndyCar fan, huge American road course racing fan in general, which by extension includes IndyCar. And so it's a sort of natural pairing between the two. So, and that's what we've got now. This new series upcoming. I know some of the guys on the team are really excited for it, and rightly so. It should be a really.
He will be.
Oh, he's chomping at the bit for it. He cannot
wait.
Wait.
So good in this. Of course, won the iRacing championship, the first one.
Did indeed, yes. In a car that drives like trash, it must be said. Like, it's not a good car to drive.
Or just an awful car. It might still come back later on in the year.
A lot of people are hoping that it just gets replaced by the IR18 and just roll with that.
Yeah.
That's how much better the IR18 is to drive than the IR01.
So I think that's that covered. Exciting news. I was thinking, could I do it? Because obviously this is accessible to maybe everyone. There's no qualifier series for it, so I assume there's going to be splits. I assume it's like an iRacing hosted thing.
I'm not sure what way it will work. I haven't got a clue.
But I'm not entirely sure.
I'll maybe try and
if anyone
rustle up
knows
some info
in chat, do let us know. But take part in it if you want. I mean, to be fair, take part in all the IndyCar races. I'm a bit bad for it, honestly. Like I said that I was a massive IndyCar fan, and yet I've done one IndyCar race, and it was a hosted one since it came back. So I should put my money where my mouth is. But
there is like a pre-qualifying.
Oh, interesting. When's that?
Hosted on the 8th and 9th of June.
Okay, at Mid-Ohio. It said Mid-Ohio there.
Yes.
Okay. Get good at Mid-Ohio, people.
Get good. That's the strat. Whatever you do, just get good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Fantastic.
Nice one. Yeah. So maybe I won't get into it in that case. But
no, Mid-Ohio is a fantastic track. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I think it is good. Yeah.
Oh, so you're just not good at it?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just not good enough at any track. If there wasn't a pre-qualifying, then I'd have a chance because I wouldn't have to do any criteria in order to get in.
And it's not the Radical, and it's not the BSR Winter Series.
It's not the BSR Radical Winter Series Championship, is it?
Yeah.
And of course, if it wasn't that, then, That'd be good luck getting into that when I'm racing it. Let's just say that. But yeah, unfortunately, that car is deceased. Joseph Dimbler asking, where is Samsoid?
He's not here.
Unfortunately, he's just not here this week. So
I don't know where he is.
I'm not sure if David's. I don't think David is watching along, unfortunately. But if he is, let us know. If anyone does know, let us know. Give us his GPS coordinates, and we'll
we'll find him.
We'll find him. We'll bring all the equipment, and we'll get his take on this.
If Samsoid isn't here, we'll bring the Late Apex podcast to Samsoid.
Exactly. Yeah. A
manhunt. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So
he was last thing threatening you for your initial comment on improving this podcast by 50% with my addition to it.
Let us know if you think the podcast is better like this.
It probably isn't, but you know, I'm here helping out.
Sure. Well, yeah,
I'm doing my bit.
Apparently, he's well and alive, so that's good.
For now. I say ominously.
F1 sim racing.
Yes.
It ended.
It did
yesterday.
It started. It continued, and then it ended.
I was shocked that it was over. I was like, "Oh, this has got another LAN event in it," but it was 2 LAN events plus the Jonkoping thing that they initially did last year.
Yes.
So really short season, but a good winner. Freddie Rasmussen has won the title. He was runner-up 3 or 4 times.
4
times. And
consecutively,
finally been able to get that winner spot. It was a really good, particularly final event.
Yep.
He went into, so of course this championship, people aren't aware of it. We had one event in Jonkoping, which was 1 race, and then we had
which wasn't part of the plan.
Which wasn't part of the plan.
That whole thing was an absolute mess.
Oh, just a crazy.
Because I was out there that weekend and got to sort of see the whole thing unravel before my eyes.
It was meant to be 2 days, wasn't it?
Yes.
And they just cancelled the first day.
Yeah. And then they just about scrambled together the first round of the championship.
What a waste of resources.
It's incredible.
It infuriates me, you know. But they, so Freddie had a really good first 6 rounds of championship. That was at 1 LAN, and then they did another LAN this week, and he came into that LAN with a good lead. But Ron Hart and Broman really did very well. They won a couple of races each. They were closing the gap. And it came down to the last race. And pretty much, if Ron Har won the last race, which he put it on pole, Freddie Rasmussen needed to finish 3rd in order to win the title. Freddie qualified in 7th, so he had a lot of work to do. Bit of controversy, arguably, where not only did Freddie's teammates at Red Bull help him, also the AlphaTauris, which are weirdly named AlphaTauris, also helped him as well to win the championship by holding up the guys because they were on different strategies, so you could really manipulate it a bit like that. It was a super tense final race. 3 laps to go, and he was leading pretty much. Was Ron Ha, but oh come on, internet, you got to work for me now.
Means a word to me.
Ferrari won the teams, by the way.
Yeah,
super.
So that happened. But yeah, the final race was mental, really. The whole way through, it was absolutely insane.
Yeah, so even at this point, if Ron Har can gain 2 places, he's going to win the championship.
Yeah.
But Alfie Butcher, who's a rookie, actually managed to win the final race of the season. So
he actually came through that race, so he was on the same strategy as Freddie, and just then breezed through everyone at the end, and then everyone started tripping over each other because it was the championship fight between... So Broman was still in the mix, but he needed a little bit more help than what Ron Har needed. Ron Har was leading, and then he was on the sort of primary strategy of being on the softer tire and then pitting the spare Red Bull and AlphaTauri in the mix. Hit it really early, got the undercut on everyone, and then we're on knackered hard tires by the time the front runners had pitted, and shenanigans occurred. Ron Har caught into a spin there. I don't think actually there was much in that, but the whole race for the last 10 laps or so was utter carnage, but in a really good watchable way. I don't think the driving standards were that high by the end, as everyone started to lose their head a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of squeezing and pushing people wide and stuff like that, but I mean, it was, as a spectacle, as a spectator, and as a broad neutral. I say broad neutral because I quite like Freddie. I've known him a really, really long time. There's him and Yanni Tormala on the grid, like guys that I've known and raced against for a really, really long time. So like I want to see them do well because they're like ex-iRacing guys. So it makes me think that, oh, the guys who are iRacing or ex-iRacing guys are the best in the world, which I do stand by. But like I've known Fred for a really long time, so to finally see the guy who I think overall as an all-around package is probably the best in the world, regardless of sim, to see him finally win the championship is good to see, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So this was the last lap of the race. Really, at this point, with sort of older tyres, but you can see how Alfie actually had the same age tyres, didn't he?
Yeah, well, Fred is actually on probably the better tyres, but understandably probably
of course,
feeling the pressure a little bit.
Yeah.
How Ron Hart was like Ron Hart's pace in this race was unbelievable, but like strategy didn't really work out in his favor, and
too much traffic.
And yeah, the traffic that wasn't entirely, you know, like his fault that he was in that position. Berezny there actually, you know, he was sort of in the mix. He'd cost Rasmussen a championship, I think it was last year, with contact in one of the races. So you could almost sense that he was like tentative around Friday. Like he was on better tires. He hadn't been scrapping. He'd been saving his stuff right at the end. So there's that. There's Longue there up the inside in the last corner, and then Fred.
Look, he's just so mad.
Yeah. The Dane goes wild. That's the happiest I've ever seen Fred Rasmussen, and I've known or raced against him for 9 years now. That's the biggest smile I've ever seen out of him.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Someone's not happy.
Understandably. He felt like it was probably taken away from him a little bit, but he had driven really well in that race. And I think that puts as well to bed any questions about Ron Hart's legitimacy. I know that, like we'd say, you probably discussed this back in round one with that event out in Sweden. But I mean, they were back in Sweden again for the remaining rounds. But yeah, I mean, there were some question marks over his legitimacy. I didn't follow it all that closely, so I didn't know.
I didn't
for sure. I didn't have
to say too much about it.
But yeah, him with the little on everyone after round one when he won in a land environment was class.
He is a bit of a pantomime villain, though. If you look on the comments on that video, which, by the way, has now 216,000. I think it's been at 216 for a while. Has it gone up?
No.
I don't know. Anyway,
no one's watching it anymore.
is a lot anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of people are like calling out Ron Hart for his over-aggressive driving, and that's good. That's like the pantomime stuff that we need, where you get invested between drivers and you have drivers reacting. That's why you have lands after all, so you can see the drivers really in the flesh and interact with one another. But I mean, I guess of all the people to win, I think everyone's happy that Freddie did win.
Yeah.
So really happy with that.
Except for the Altmere fans. They're all so salty, it's so funny.
Oh, really? Why?
Because Yarnell got robbed because of technical issues.
Oh, really?
But Fred had technical issues in qualifying for his races on that third event. He was stuck getting 40 FPS and he still qualified 7. So I was like, well, whatever.
Sure.
Everyone had issues at some point. Some obviously more than others, but
yeah,
Rasmussen, I think, is a deserved winner.
Absolutely. He got 160 points. Ron Hart, 147 per man, 144, but it was a lot closer than what that indicates.
No, that's how it was going into that last round.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, my bad. Oh, that makes sense. Sure. So it was a bit closer than that then. Like,
yeah, it was.
It was probably like 10 points.
No, it was closer than that.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, because Ron Hart needed the win with Rasmussen no better than 4th for Ron Hart to win the title, and they were like 2nd and 3rd, weren't they?
Yeah, so the gap would have gone down by 3 points, right?
Yeah.
So it would have been 10 points.
Okay, yeah. So it ended up a little, but like it was a lot closer than that in terms of how the race panned out in the end.
Yeah. And looking at the comments, Aaron Smith F123 lobbies trying to have zero technical problems. I think it was partially maybe the lobbies, but also I think also maybe the equipment as well. Actually, at the
I can give a little extra context as to probably why they were having issues, why it was like a consistent thing. The cooling on those rigs is a big challenge.
Sure.
There's 20 rigs there in a room. It's probably not a perfect environment for such things. They run the graphics on high because they take the feed off of each driver.
Sure.
For the broadcast. They also have to take the feed of the game. So there's resources put into that. And I'm pretty sure they don't overclock any of the systems so that they don't overheat and melt.
Sure.
So something has to give, which is the performance of the machines. Trust me, like that's a consistent thing with LAN events where like performance tends to be pretty poor for a variety of reasons. And in a game and in an environment where it's like there's not a massive amount of like spread between the drivers at this level, like Q1, all 20 drivers are separated by like a tenth and a half, 2/10, which is ridiculous. But it's also kind of the nature of the game where it's a fairly neutral thing to drive. It's not like a super high skill ceiling to like get the car around the track kind of a thing. It's quite accessible to most people. It's a harder game to drive now than what it was, say, 10 years ago when I last played an F1 game. But yeah, any little thing that goes wrong is like a huge thing to these guys. So that's why you'll see like the grid chop and change massively in qualifying. It almost depends on who has the fewer issues.
Sure.
So that's where I think a lot of it sort of comes down to as well.
Well, we will move on to a very different championship, but also a very big one. ESLR1. Many teams have been announced this week, including a little team that you may be familiar with under the name Apex Racing Team. And on that team is Jimmy Ancinez making his debut.
Yes.
And joining the familiar trio from last year. You guys did all the races. Jimmy Fluke, Kevin S. Jr., and Johan Harth. Yeah, big stuff this for ESL R1. Obviously, big prize pool again being offered by them. I think it's £500,000 they announced.
Yep.
And
euros, not quid.
Sorry.
Unless ESL suddenly become British in it. No, it'll be euros.
So yeah, how are you feeling with 2 weeks to go till the first round?
1 week to go.
1 week to go to the first round.
We're back next week. Gosh, it's been a while.
Yeah.
The last time December? I went November was the last time that we raced, and I haven't been side by side with another car until today, when we started doing test races.
Sure.
So yeah, bit of a reality check. It's like, oh gosh, I need to scrub up on my racecraft once again. I just spotted Aaron's message there that my picture's going to need an update. Much hair has been grown since. Yes, it has. I did ask, like, are we going to do like new headshots whilst we're here? But maybe not. We'll see. Because the beard is definitely tracking in the right direction. But yeah, a lot's changed, but like not a lot has been announced that has changed. Format is broadly the same as it was last year. But it's all compressed into 1 day. I don't know if that's been announced, but I can tell you that because I know, and it's not huge info. Sure. It's not split over 2 days like it was previously. So in the spring season last year, it was Friday, Monday, which really didn't work because a weekend where it wasn't happening, or where there was no racing. And it's like, well, a bit of downtime until we get to the meat and bones bits of the, okay, cool, whatever. Then for the second half of the year, it was Thursday, Friday, which worked better. The processes in the background to try and get from race to race seem to be quicker now, to the point where hopefully we can all do it in 1 day in a 5-ish hour window.
Sure.
That's the plan. We have a build update as well, which is sort of exclusive to the R1 guys. So we have our own like esports build of it, which I think is the right way to sort of do this. I know that there's like esports builds in other games, and I think it's the right way to go about it, so that at least we can iron out some of the issues before it goes to the masses. At the minute, the game's still in closed beta. And obviously it's been discussed what their plans are for the upcoming year as to how they plan to go from where they're at now to hopefully a full release. But for quite a long period of time, we were on like a quite tightly knitted like connection between the ESL branch and what's available on Epic Games. We sort of diverged away now as we approach the new season. So physics have changed. It's a different game to drive for sure. And so that means like we're sort of starting from scratch again a little bit. It doesn't mean that the guys who were at the front last season will necessarily definitely be at the front, although you would generally assume that, you know, the cream will rise to the top. So there's been more to take on. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. We do have the schedule, but I don't think it's been released, so I don't think I can talk about that.
We can't say this.
But yeah, we're back in action next week, and yeah, I've not raced anything with any serious competitiveness in 6 months now, nearly. So I'm raring to go.
Nice one. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty cool season. What's your opinions of the new teams? We've got 4 of them.
Yes.
You think that they're going to be near the top from the get-go? And in terms of the drivers who have been announced as well, any names that you're surprised have gone or surprised have joined?
It's hard for me to get surprised because I'm like on the inside and sort of see everything happening.
You sort of know it before it happens.
Yeah, so I sort of know a lot of what's happening before it does happen. So we've got, the new teams there. So RG have been rebranded to Team Vitality. So I guess they've got some sort of partnership going on in the background. Team Falcons have come in brand new. Guild and Virtus Pro as well have come in brand new. So the Guild lineup, and the Team Falcons lineup, I'm pretty sure haven't been announced in any way, shape, or form. But I do know what the lineups are, and maybe a couple of surprises in there for some people, but I'll let them announce what they're going to announce. The RHG lineup that was there for the majority of last year is the Team Vitality lineup in its entirety. So no changes there. Team Redline now have brought in Sebastian Jobe from G2.
So what was already a very good team.
Yeah, so you know you're in good shape whenever you can drop Enzo Benito. It's pretty crazy. Porsche Coanda, so Mac Backham retired from competitive sim racing at the end of last year. Visibly looking at him, he was just tired of the whole thing, so I don't blame him. Charlie Collins is an able deputy. I mean, he's some talent, he's some boy, it must be said. We brought in Jimmy this season. Great to have him on board. He's been working really well with us, so hopefully he gets up to speed well and quickly. Mouse have made a change to their lineup. They've got Christopher Dambeats in for Patrick Holtzman. I knew nothing about that actually until it was announced. I was actually quite surprised by that. So that's like a little bit of a surprise on my end. So that's pretty neat, pretty cool. Team Vitality still in the RG t-shirts there. Very
all
strong.
All the Saudi shots right from last year.
Yep. BS Competition have brought in Kaiki Oliveira from the departing Furia team. He was comfortably their best driver over the course of both seasons and also the mid-season event in Riyadh.
Sometimes they did graphics of teams who have had biggest shares of points by one driver.
Yeah.
And he would be there with 75%.
He was top of the tree. They brought in Robbie Stapleford as well from G2. I know the G2 lineup, it's not been announced yet. They will have a new 4th driver. So they've technically already announced 3 at points over the off-season. They've had Nikodem Wisniewski and Kuba Brzezinski come in from Williams and compete with them in the DTM Esports Championship. So they're going to be in that lineup with Isaac Price and then the 4th driver, who I do know, but it's up to them to say who's coming in. FIAs have a pretty new lineup, so it's basically mostly like red line drivers plus Ulash, who has a tight turnaround from doing F1 esports until
Sure,
a couple of days ago. So that's quite the turnaround. The Williams guys, so that's not an entirely new lineup, but it is a new quartet, if that makes sense. Like
Sure.
those four drivers haven't
Yeah.
been on the team driving at the same time
Yeah,
in ESL. Darren McCormack, the only ever present driver of that lineup. Is that everything and everyone? Yeah, everyone so far. So, yeah, the red line team is filthy. But we'll give it to them.
yeah.
We'll give them hell. We'll give everyone hell. We'll give it a proper go.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
back end of last season, you guys were scoring more points than anyone else, you know. So
Yeah, we were right in the mix.
yeah.
So hopefully we can do that again.
Really looking forward to it.
Just actually on Deville's comment there, that I have the extra content, as in like any of the extra new stuff coming in. Nope, I don't.
Nope.
So even if I did, I wouldn't say too much about it. I wouldn't be allowed to probably. But nope, I have what everyone else has. That has the game.
And of course, we can move on to that because Rennsport released their second radio check episode.
Yes.
And they discussed their 1.8.5 update, May the 16th, that is coming out. And this includes two major things. The Porsche LMDH, which has sort of been around for a while, that they had like a render of it a while ago. Or not a render of it, I mean like you could drive it at Goodwood like a year ago. They shared an image of that, and they're like, it's really cool. We'll let people use it. And they've also going to release Fuji as well. So Fuji, of course, potential for... I won't push you because obviously we can't talk about the tracks in ESLR1.
I can tell you it's not on the schedule.
Sure.
Because it's not been released yet, not been tested yet before the season starts.
But you think it might be on the World Cup, Esports World Cup?
That's a good question. So we don't actually have like the track pool for Esports World Cup. So I genuinely don't know. Do I think it's a good addition? Yeah.
It's a good racetrack.
It's a good racetrack, especially in something like a GT3 car. Yeah. I'm a big fan of it. You've got the massive long pit straight, and it's wide enough that you can go side by side in most places. I'm all for it.
Yeah. They've also released multi-class. You can do multi-class now.
Yep.
So they released the Porsche, and they're like, the Porsche's a bit boring by itself. Let's add multi-class, so you can do the Porsche, LMDH, and GT3 cars.
Yep.
You can do pit stops now. Damage is a thing. You can...
I can say that damage has been a thing for a while, but they've sort of... It's been there, but not used, if that makes sense. We've tested it a little bit with some ESL stuff and some testing stuff with that. Works broadly as intended. I don't have any major issues or qualms with it. So, yeah, the fact that it's coming out to the beta is a step in the right direction for sure.
And they've also been experimenting with 24 cars in a server. From what I've heard, it worked all right. Certainly better than what it was before, but there's still a few issues when it comes to like audio and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's better. And to double the cars in one go is quite a big deal. And also, you can now adjust trackside banners. So if we hosted a league like ARL, we could change all the banners to have ARL logos on it, which is quite a nice addition as well. So any of those update, or you know, they discussed their update like roadmap as well earlier in the year. Is there anything in Rennsport that's really exciting you? Like they're adding GT4 cars, very much a sign that they're going to add more hypercars as well, more tracks as well. What are you sort of waiting for, particularly from the esports side, for them to add?
That's a good question. The thing that I care most about is how everything drives and how everything works, how well optimized it is. The content will come eventually, but I'm not super worried about content. Like, I would race a wheelbarrow if it was like the most optimized, beautiful, high-end, perfectly
great force feedback
wheelbarrow in the world. Sure. Like, that's my perspective on it. Like, I don't care what I race as long as what I race is really, really good. So I know for a lot of people that the content is the big thing, and to be fair, for Rennsport, like, people just want to try the game, and there's concerns that the ship has sailed a little bit in terms of like for the masses, which I totally get and understand. I'm sat in a weird position where like I'm competing in the game in an esport, and going into a second year of a game where a lot of people still can't get access to the game at all. So like I'm sat like talking about the game, but also like I see it from like as many perspectives as I can. I just want to see progress, and I want to see it quick, and I think everyone does.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we want. Aaron Smith in chat saying, if one day they add the Radical, Sam's going to go full-time Rennsport. It's true, as the BSR Radical Winter Series Championship winner, it would only be right for me to defend my title. Of course, beat the likes of Kane Halliburton, who's widely regarded as one of the best Radical drivers in all of iRacing. Of course, beat Josh Thompson, who's a PESC driver as well. So, pretty good, eh? Not a bad driver. The Mustang.
I'm just letting you hang on that as long as you can, mate.
I've been hanging on it for 5 years now,
All right.
ACC have added Mustang GT3.
They have indeed.
This thing sounds very good, doesn't it?
It does sound good. And this is coming from someone who really doesn't care about Ford Mustang.
No,
it's just not something
whatsoever.
Yeah, like the American Ford cars doing absolutely nothing for me at all in any capacity, but it does sound really good. It's available now for free.
I think for free for a bit. I think that's what
Get it now. Do it now. Otherwise, you'll miss the deal of the century.
So that is on ACC, but then Dan Suzuki posted this funny meme.
Yes, I like it. It's got the text of like the old school 2014 memes.
What a woeful, what a
that's
woeful
my kind of meme.
Car that thing is. It's a GT2.
Yes.
People aren't aware, and then they just changed it to a GT3 for some reason. Like they were low on GT3s at the time.
Yes.
And for some reason, they've just kept it as a GT3, despite the fact that we've got so many other GT3s. We don't need a GT2 car modified.
But you don't remember driving it in 2015 when it was absolute bliss.
I really.
Like it had a proper like there was a Ford GT3 era on it. Like 2015 and 2016, it was just the go-to car. My God, it drove so well as well. Like it was just so wonderfully balanced. It had a resurgence for about 1 to 2 weeks in 2019, because it has a short gear stack that none of the other cars have, and so. At Zolder and Alton Park, it was outrageously good because it could pull with a shorter gear stack. It was so much better. So I drove it for a couple of weeks, and it was majestic. Handles weird, but like it. I mean, if you can get lap time out of it, it's perfectly fine to drive.
Sure. Well, of course, iRacing posted the eyes emoji. Big stuff there.
I mean, that's the emoji version of soon trademark.
Yeah.
Just in one solid emoji right there.
So, that will be potentially coming. Of course, it's been talked about for ages. The Corvette as well has been talked about for ages as well, being added. So, should be soon. Maybe the Mustang will be added.
Maybe soon.
Maybe soon. Of course, we've been talking about an Aston Martin GT3 being added for the last...
forever.
12 years.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
That's definitely soon, right?
Oh, yeah.
12 years.
Yeah,
soon. Very soon.
I mean, technically, we're always moving towards it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a set point in time and we're moving towards it, unless it never happens.
Unless it never happens, in which case we're moving towards nothing.
Yeah.
They should probably replace the Mac at some point. Well, yeah, like the car's like, 3 generations out of date now?
The wheel's still cool though, isn't it? I remember that Macca wheel.
Yeah.
When that car came out, and it was like, I thought it was quite a groundbreaking wheel. I think for a GT3 car, that I was like, it's sort of a single seat.
And now it's a Fanatec rim.
And now it's a Fanatec rim. It's a bit out of date.
We've come right full circle here already.
Now it's quite old, but like replace the Macca, please. We'll move on.
We shall.
Le Mans Ultimates.
Yes.
Not much of an update on this, really.
But an update nonetheless.
An update nonetheless. It makes it in nonetheless. They have just expanded a bit on some of what they're going to do in June. So they've got an update in June because that's when Le Mans 24 is, and they're going to announce like Virtual Le Mans and do a big kind of second release type thing. And they have basically said, maybe something which is a bit disappointing, but they've said that their main target is to have all the 2024 content by the end of the year, at least. So that's the GT3 cars. I want to say there's 4 of them. I might be wrong about that. There's a couple more LMDH cars, and they need to change one of the LMDH cars. Well, I think the Peugeot got reworked as well in real life. And they've got a bunch of tracks, Interlagos, Qatar, and Kota, and Imola all need to be added as well.
Yeah.
And they're hoping to get that out by the end of the year, which I don't know, maybe I was a bit naive and thinking they'd be out before then, but obviously by the end of the year, that actually means probably 3 months into next year.
Yeah.
It's slow progress, right? Like, I don't know what they were doing in terms of developing the GT3 cars, unless they did just... I think they did... I won't give them credit. I don't want to say that they just took the GT3 cars from R Factor 2 and put them into LMU. I'd like to believe at least that they did genuinely rework them. That's what they said that they did anyway. Why were they wasting their time on that, though? Why were they not doing the... why were they working on the GTEs when they should have been working on the GT3s?
Yeah.
And why were they adding Monza when it was being dropped? Monza's maybe I understand because that was quite late that it got replaced by Imola, but
yeah,
it's a bit weak, isn't it, for a game which is probably going to have a full release before it has like the 7 tracks that it needs.
Probably. Makes it interesting to see what then the future plans are. I'm speaking kind of semi-selfishly about Virtual Le Mans. Like what the plans are with that game, because obviously it's currently on a break/hiatus or whatever. Logically, they're going to use this game for it whenever they eventually get around to it, and then when is that going to happen? So, yeah, I mean, if they can get everything that they need in terms of 2024 content out by the end of the year, then that's probably decent going.
And DeVille said in chat, you know, it's similar to what 2025 will be, so maybe in a year's time we'll be like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We've got the content now anyway, so, but yeah. I don't know, it's still a bit poor form, I think, from them. Considering that this game got announced like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, and Aaron makes a good point. Yeah, they chose a really awkward year to like get it released and come out with the GTs only for GT3s to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit awkward, but that's the jungle sometimes.
It is. They also said that content will gradually be coming out, so it's not going to be like one thing, one DLC. And some of the DLC is going to be paid, some of them are going to be free. They're going to release a new car in June, and that's going to be free, but some of the other stuff might be paid, because it's unsure really, because a lot of people, including myself, have the early access. I paid like 25 quid for that, I want to say.
Yep.
But I don't know if they're going to, when it gets fully released, whether I'll have to pay for it again, or whether I'll have to pay for a DLC to get the content on the full release.
Furious if I have to pay for the full game again.
Yeah.
I don't think...
I imagine it would be a DLC for people who bought it on early access.
I think so as well.
They also said that they're going to start charging for Race Control, which is their online mode, as a membership, but it's unclear how they're going to do that at the moment, because iRacing, you need to have a membership, but that's for the whole service, not just for the online stuff. I wonder if people feel a bit shortchanged with that, if you got to buy the game, and then you got to buy the tracks, and you might have to buy the cars, and you might have to buy online as well. It's a lot of stuff to buy.
I mean, people do it for iRacing, but iRacing's at least generally very, very good.
At least with iRacing, it's just a subscription, and then you buy. I don't know.
Well, then you buy the cars and then you buy the tracks.
Can you? Like, yeah. But this is one extra thing. You'll have to buy the game and the online separate, or at least do it. So I don't know.
I think it's all right, but that's as someone who was once part of the 100% club on iRacing. So, you know, I just fired stupid money into it. There's a lot of dirt ovals that I will never touch.
I wish I'd bought all of it back in 2016 before Brexit. And then we wouldn't have to pay I think back then you didn't have to pay VAT on it.
Correct, yeah.
And then, of course, the pound was more valuable against the euro, and I could have got all the content.
The dollar.
unfortunately.
Yep.
Oh yeah, apologies. You're right, against the door. Also, some news about Motorsport Games revenue. This is from overtake.gg. Motorsport Games revenue increased by 76% from the past 12 months compared to the 12 months before that. It increased by 76% from like the 1st of April 23 to the 1st of April 24 compared to the 1st of January 23 compared to 1st of January. So basically their last 3 months have been really good because they've been selling LMU, obviously.
Yes.
So that's gone up. They still lost 1.6 million though. So like they are losing less money. Apparently their accumulated deficit now stands at $89 million, which is insane.
That's even more Fanatec V3 pedals than what Jack Maurer was going to put into Fanatec again.
Yeah.
That's
like almost 2 of what he was.
That's almost 2 Jack Mauers.
It's 2 Jack Mauers. So that's astonishing that it's that much money that they've hemorrhaged.
I don't know how they make that back.
Games total.
I don't really understand how they're going to flip that around.
They're never going to make that. I mean, how much revenue have iRacing made in their history?
Yeah.
I know that we've got 1 million users, but like, I don't know how much average. Yeah.
I mean, iRacing weren't turning a profit until like 2017, 2018, something like that. They were making a loss all the way through to that, and they were like head and shoulders above everyone.
Yeah.
For pretty much that entire time. Mad.
So
yeah, that's MSG.
Yeah, sorry, maybe I wasn't clear to Bill. That's MSG, not 397. Also, part of that revenue increase may have been because iRacing are paying for the NASCAR license of them, but they're paying it in like installments, and they paid like $500,000. So that gets contributed. So it's sort of iffy figures, and you question whether they keep that up because obviously until LMU gets a full release, and eventually that NASCAR money that they're selling the license with is going iffy. Danny Lee is in chat. Welcome, Danny. Good to have you around. Man who cooks toast, but the toast on the toaster, like flat. So imagine the toaster's like that with the slots, and he puts it on top. And he also does something with his tea as well. He's a madman, a sociopath, dare I say. So very happy to have you along.
That's
Danny.
one of the strangest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, he very good YouTube channels Danny got, and that's what he did. Danny Lee's saying it's got so much worse than so. I can't imagine anything worse, Danny.
How long does it take then to toast a slice of toast if you're...
And it's not comprehensive either.
Oh.
By any means, so...
Toast doesn't need to be that complicated.
No.
Simple food must be kept simple. For the simpleton that we are.
Yeah. Danny Lee's claiming that the game is pretty much over for anyone unless iRacing somehow disappears. I have a decent amount of hope for it, Danny. I think the fact that it's so like comprehensive when it comes to work, and work is going so well at the moment in real life, I think actually if it's not too unreasonable, the cost, I think it could do decent for it. You look at ACC, that's got a limited car roster, certainly did originally. And that's done very well for itself. It's just grown and grown over time. So I think LMU might still be all right.
It remains to be seen.
I think that's it in terms of sim racing news. We have been talking for an hour. It's been a long one this episode.
This is what happens when you bring me along. I start talking absolute guff.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, we start talking about how to toast.
Yeah.
Toast bread.
Toast. No, yeah, you toast bread, and then because you've already toasted some of it, and you're trying to toast a bit then that hasn't been toasted, is it then toast or is it just bread?
So go through that again.
So Danny Lee is doing the weird way.
The madman.
So, the madman approach to toasting bread. But because some part of it is then toasted, has it become toast yet? Or is it still bread?
If only Socrates was still here.
I know.
I'd love him as a guest on this. Really would.
Very
like
true.
top 10 like guest Socrates on this.
Of all time, ever.
I think so, yeah. Like imagine, I think any podcast host who isn't saying Socrates.
Okay, fair.
It'd be cool to have his perspective on
I'm interested in Socrates, the footballer.
Yeah?
Because he was a complete maverick.
Sure.
A chain-smoking Brazilian, nonchalant, headband-wearing genius of a footballer.
Did he win the World Cup in 2002?
No, he's well before. He was in the 80s when Brazil weren't
really?
especially good.
Okay, sure.
But he was a fantastic footballer.
Okay.
He'd be a good podcast guest if he were
the
if
two
we're still around.
Socrates.
Yeah, two
and
Socrates just dueling.
Yeah.
Neither of them understanding a word of what they were saying.
So Apex
Yes.
Racing League.
Yes.
Update on that. Oh, actually, no. First up, I'll say Apex Racing Academy because we've got a banner, guys. Got a banner.
Can you figure it out? Yes.
So there is the banner. So if you go to that web address, put your email in, you get free GT3 setups for Nurburgring 24.
Do it.
And you also get a very good track tutorial by Salva Talents, who goes through basically how to be quick on a few different corners, how to not crash at a few different corners, how to deal with night, which is very useful, how to deal with overtaking, how to deal with fuel strategy, and how to deal with tire strategy. It's very good. And you know, I'm racing in it, and well, I edited the video, so I've watched it already. But even if I hadn't edited the video, I would watch it because it's genuinely very useful to learn what you need to do for Nurburgring 24 hours. So do check that out. It's really, really useful. Danny Civisabu, is it Beard Day at the Sim Center? No.
It is whenever I'm here.
Sure. Yeah, he makes up for people who don't have beards, really.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
I mean, Sam Sword, whenever he's sat here in the seat, certainly isn't as bearded as I am.
No.
So I'm bringing the beard to the party here.
You and him. I mean, you'd barely be able to see your faces.
I know.
It'd just be facial hair on the camera.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we're hipsters, so that's why we have facial hair.
Yes, aren't we?
And we're very proud to be that.
Yep.
Apex Racing League, I was mentioning before.
He's got a button for that as well.
Yeah, we've got loads of buttons.
Look at him go.
And you can sign up for the third Racing Unleashed Racer Challenge. If you're over 6K, you can race Daytona GT3's elimination format. It was awesome on Sunday, the elimination format. It was so good. Like, one of the best things one of the best races I think we've broadcasted. So it's really fun. Do go to apexracingleague.com to put your name down for that. If you're not above 6K, that's not a problem because you can still sign up for the Challenger League, and then we'll have Challenge number 4, which will be on in 3 weeks' time, and you can race in that instead. So really do recommend doing that. Apex Racing Team.
Yes.
Porsche GB came to an end. It's a long season of Porsche
It was
GB
a long season.
because it was the same length as it usually is, I think. But it was just PECC was so short that I was like, this thing's still going on. And so a fantastic result for Luke McCowan. He managed to finish in second place overall, only behind Seb Job.
Yeah.
So Luke did a terrific job.
He did.
At being able to get that. Earns a nice amount of money from it as well. Just about held on against Graham Cowell for that second place. Pete finished in 4th position in the end, so very well done to him as well. And Leo had a really good second half of the season, actually.
Yeah.
And managed to pick up P9. I think had he had that form from the start of the season, he would have been up then 5th or 6th come the end of the season. So really good effort from all those guys. And yeah, they've got a well-earned break from that Porsche now for a little while.
Yeah, probably for the rest of the year for Luke, certainly. Because
yeah, Pete could maybe go for qualifiers again, couldn't he?
He could, yeah.
And Leo as well. I imagine he might be eyeing that up. But yeah, Luke's not going to drive it now until January, is he?
Yeah, at least not competitively. And most of his focus for like the rest of the year is probably going to be on the other 10 tops, mainly the GT3 stuff, and sort of looking towards the IMSA Esports Championship later in the year. I think he might have a little bit of downtime in terms of like the super competitive stuff between now and that starting up. So,
do you think you'll be interested by the IndyCar?
As long as it doesn't clash with anything else, he might do it. But I haven't heard any like definitive decision one way or the other. Well, I mean, I can take a quick look and see what the guys are generally saying, but I don't think he's. Oh. No, like he's interested in doing it, but apparently he's away during the pre-qualifying. Yeah,
okay.
Pre-qualifying, so that's maybe a little bit annoying. So, I guess because his schedule's free, he'll probably give it a go if he can. But yeah, otherwise it might be a little bit quiet for him for the next little bit. But he's had a cracking year.
Yeah.
Did superbly in PECC, a little unlucky at the very end of that, and but then second in the championship in Porsche GB, and had to do it the hard way in the last round, starting at the back in that first race to try and work his way back up towards the top 6, which gets reversed. I think he went from 20th to 5th in the first race, which is mad at Brands Hatch. Like, that is not an easy place to overtake. Trust me, I've raced plenty of Brands Hatch over the years, and have raced a Porsche Cup car at Brands Hatch over the years, and it's not easy. He made that opening lap look straightforward as anything in that first race. So kudos to him for getting the job done for second there. Pete was unlucky through large part of the season. Fourth isn't really reflective of the speed that he's shown, but we'll see Pete in action, I'm sure, in the IndyCar series, and maybe then the Porsche Taycan Esports Super Cup qualifiers coming up soon. Maybe. Yet to be decided.
And if he does do that, he'll breeze through it, I'm sure.
I'd hope so, yes.
So, might have a few guys in that as well. I imagine maybe Michael will be trying to get back into that. I've got a few of the academy guys who I think might be interested as well. So, it'll be good to see that happening later on in the year. Let's go through Apex Racing TV. We've got some good questions. We've got our April compilation. We posted it like earlier today. It's quite good. Very crash heavy this month. I don't pick what happens on track. I just take the notes. I go through each of the links that the commentators post as this is a good moment, and I pick like the best 10, 15, and I make it into a video. And it was very crash heavy, but I think it's still a good one, and one of Lewis Ward's best thumbnails as well. So do recommend checking that out.
Are you saying that that's a high or a low bar to clear on Lewis's thumbnails?
A high bar to clear, because he is talented.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said about him.
I'm very nice to Lewis. What are you accusing me of? I'm a nice person.
Okay.
Apart from David, but like
this is the man who just ridiculed Samsoid less than an hour ago.
I called him stupid, but like
Anyway,
this was my god, this. So tune in, Martin Kovacs. He's in the wall. What's happened here?
Still registered as a lap last year with his.
Right. Sorry. Right. I thought the whole thing was just skipping weirdly because like the internet's struggling for whatever reason.
Okay.
All right, so you're just working through
it.
No, you haven't had this well prepped, have you?
No, there is a link, but I was thinking, okay, we can work through this because I couldn't be bothered to load it up again. Here we go. Okay, so this is obviously that's just a crash as you get.
Yeah, just dropped it on the inside curb there, easily done.
But look at this.
Lost it on his own.
And he nearly takes out the leader. And does take out P2.
No wonder he retired.
And look at this. I mean, he's almost driving backwards on the track. It so often happens.
You don't. So you see that quite a bit at Daytona into there, but not at that speed.
It's absolutely incredible.
That is insane. That's a proper shunt as well. Like that's. If that was real life, that hurts in the morning. It's just. So he's had a technical issue, clearly, right?
No, I think he's just lost the car, and he's got on the grass. But yeah, incredible stuff. Because Johan nearly got wiped out, I think, at maybe Daytona.
Same corner.
No, it was a bit earlier. Round one pass, but it was a bit earlier. It's rare that you see it that late.
Yeah.
But that last shot is astonishing. Look at the speed of it.
That's incredible.
I think I was looking at because I was doing stewarding for her, and like I was looking at, I think he hit P1, but he like skimmed him.
Yeah.
And he got away with it.
And he's just absolutely mullered second.
Just incredible crash, and that will make the cut for next month's compilation, undoubtedly.
I'm pleased that I've seen that. That's the first I've actually seen of that. I am delighted that I have laid eyes on that. That's a cracking shunt. All right, what's next?
Oh no, this isn't. Oh, this isn't.
Oh, you've not got this right at all, have you?
No, I'll find it. It's really easy to find. It's end of race 1, photo finish that occurred. Come on, Sam. Oh no, you've gone too far, Sam. Come on, come on. Here we go. Oh,
he's got it right. Nailed it.
Who do you think's going to win at this point?
The fans are going to win. They're going to see a great finish.
He gets it right at the close.
Yeah.
2,000th of a second. In sim, it was displaying as 1,000th of a second, but obviously, like I think SDK
It refreshes.
It refreshes. I think it rounds it as well differently. So like, yeah. It'll go by the interval rather than like the time necessarily.
I'm surprised that there weren't more games played by Demori there coming into the final chicane.
Sure, you think he left himself a bit vulnerable?
A little bit, yeah. Like if you've got someone 3 times back, like that's the perfect spot to be coming out of the bus stop on the final lap when draft is of this sort of strength.
I think you sort of hope in a way that the guy behind's going to bottle it though. Like if they make the slightest mistake, then they're going to be too far back. But yeah, he got him just at the line.
Yeah.
Like he just got him.
Perfectly timed. That's a good run to the line. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It needed more nasty beating and banging and trying
to
put the guy in the wall.
That's what I was impressed by. Yeah, they weren't just driving.
That's what I would have done. Unassumingly, that's what I would have done.
Another photo finish. New Hampshire, which seems to be visited by this series every single week, I swear.
Road course?
Yeah.
An acceptable roval.
Josh Justice just about overtook in time. Oh, hang on, that's Homestead. My bad.
Oh, it is Homestead. Oh. Boo. It sucks.
One of the better ovals, I would say. But yeah, Josh managed to go from 3rd all the way to the top. Homestead's got an insane run to the line. At least in those lower power cars, it's a very long run to the line. Almost
too long.
It's not as long as Daytona, but like it's basically the entire oval.
Yeah.
Like you go off before turn 1 and then you rejoin at turn 1 and then you do the rest of the oval. I think. So yeah.
Yeah. Not my favorite roval in the world though. It's New Hampshire, and that's the only one I'm happy with.
New Hampshire is the only right answer, right? Because when I first saw that, I was like, "This is insane! Like what?"
Yeah.
A roval which
it's a roval, but it
goes
different
on the outside.
Yeah.
And like has elevation and banked corners.
Yeah.
And trees and grass.
Yeah.
It's
like proper corners.
Mad.
Not these little
impressive.
Mickey Mouse infield hairpins. And a bus stop chicane. Rovals love a bus stop chicane.
Yeah. Yeah.
They adore.
Gotta slow down the car somehow, eh?
Yeah. I don't mind the Indianapolis roval chicane at the end of the lap. I mean, as far as trying to slow cars down, coming, on the run towards the line, like
it's a bit more of a proper corner. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's not this like flick through and just worry about track limits all the time. Cough, Daytona, cough. But yeah, no, New Hampshire's the one true roval that reigns supreme above them all. Which is a bit like what's the best bland salad?
Sure.
Like they're all bland. I mean, it's a salad.
Yeah.
But like it's the best one.
Sure, it's the Caesar salad of rovals.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
So,
We'll roll with that.
Yeah. So I think that's everything that we had to say. Is there anything else you want off your chest? This is your platform.
This is my platform. Oh, I have a lot. No, I don't have a lot to say. We love a bus stop when it is in the 50-50 if you're going to make it, which is none of them. Well, they're all... Well,
Watkins Glen is messy. They need to fix Watkins... Well, they don't need to fix Watkins Glen. They need to fix the suspension and the damage on iRacing so that you can't launch yourself 2 foot into the air every lap and get away with it. Like, that shouldn't be a thing.
I don't like
But they're redoing the curve at Watkins. We covered this last week. They're redoing the curve, and it looks even more lethal than ever. So,
but they have like more runoff, or like it doesn't. I don't know. Apparently, it might be better.
Yeah.
Because I seen, I think it was Kyle Larson mentioned something on Twitter about like the G-forces or like something that they monitor as they went through the bus stop chicane. Like every time that they went through, like the compression on their spine and through their neck and everything was like really unhealthy.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
So yeah, the curb's flatter, but the anti-cuts are bigger, so
Sure.
they're not cutting as much off the inside, which fine, not a problem with that.
Yeah, it's more of like a jagged
Yeah,
one, I think. A serrated.
serrated, that's the word. Yeah, spot on. But if I had it my way, just a straight run into the carousel.
Yeah, but
Pretty much every time.
though, so I think they changed it when someone in the 90s, I think, died when they went into that because there's no runoff there. But
there is a bit of runoff.
you can extend the runoff.
Yeah.
I'd be down for extending the runoff. So
yeah, absolutely.
Change that, please.
Ban all bus stop chicanes.
Cool. So I think that is pretty much it for us now.
Yep.
Thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you've found this enjoyable, enlightening, informative. The 3 adjectives we always go for. And hopefully you'll join us back for next week on Late Apex. Of course, please do subscribe to the channel. Check out all the streams that are going on because there's a lot of good racing on the channel coming up. But we'll be back next Friday for the Late Apex. See you then.